What's up? Morning.
So what'd you think of that last one?
That was pretty interesting. Did you add that in there just recently?
That's my one for my normal live streaming.
Oh, okay. Nice.
I'm playing with your new place it.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Good morning, everyone. Good to see you. You guys can all hear us good?
What do we got in chat? Oh, we got Monty and Milkmaid, JM, Wendy, Thorhaven, Harvey Black. Who am I missing? Am I missing anybody else? Keto.
Yep, I seen Jess in there. We have Chris Clever. Good to see you, CJ 1975. Gardner Josh.
What is up?
All right. Prepper Chick Texas. Good morning. Guys, if you could be so kind, share this out today because we have a lot of good information that is going to be coming out. Don't forget, Mitch just said, please hit the thumbs up and clear us out.
Yeah, looking good, looking good. Prepper Chicken Texas, what is up?
There's a lot of good, I shouldn't say good things. There's a lot of things in the news today, but the reason why I have this is last year's drone shot of them guys harvesting green beans, the green beans that you guys, if you go to the store, not grow your own, that you're eating. And Gray's going to be talking a little bit today about the different things with what's coming up here in our world of produce, products, and a bunch of other stuff. So I'm at work, so lurking. All right, Mitch. Well, glad you're in here.
Yeah, thank you.
Guys, don't forget to hit the thumbs up and all that fun stuff. So one of the things I was talking about the other, which is going to feed into your conversation. Let me get this out here.
Hopefully everybody had a great Memorial Day yesterday, spent some time with family.
Absolutely. So here's my notebook for today.
Here's mine.
One of the things that I wanted to talk about today that I found out is how much property does the Big C own in the U.S.? And this is going to feed a lot more questions, Guy. Thank you so much for sharing us out, Jess. This is going to go into effect with what you're going to be talking about later. America's soil is increasingly getting sold to foreign entities. In May 2019, the Big C company now owns 146,000 acres of prime farmland. And that was back in 2019. And I know the number is a lot higher now than what that was. Then it says the numbers doubled in the past 2 decades. Ohio, Texas, and other non-restricted areas, they own nearly 500,000 acres of prime farmland. And the bad thing to this whole concept is once a foreign entity buys up such acres as they want, it's very hard for them to let it go.
Yeah, for sure.
And one of the big companies that I want you guys to keep your eye on is called, and Gray will be talking about this in a little bit here, is Smithfield Foods. You guys should recognize that in any of your big food marts. And that is the Big C owned company. And their motto, this is their article that they write up, is that we value and trust that our consumer places in our markets. We are the leading brands of all foods. Interesting, huh?
It shows that as of late, there's a lot of leading brands out there that are changing their gears per se. If you do the research, they're pushing more towards a meatless society.
Mm-hmm. That was actually talked about in that article that I was reading the other day.
Yeah, it's pretty scary stuff, especially if you look at the World Health Economics Association organization or whatever they call themselves. A lot of these folks are pushing for this meatless society.
So the milkmaid's cleaning chickens. Messy fingers.
Oh, wow, milkmaid. That's interesting. Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of these companies sell out. It's all about, money, big money. The more money, some people don't understand that money is not everything. You know what I mean? Some of us value other things other than just money.
Yep. So yeah, last week on Gray's channel, we were talking about heirloom seeds and how ours didn't pop. There was quite a few other people that had commented in that live stream and in his chat later on that were having the same issues. It was really interesting to see that, and now I like the fact that Milkmaid just verified what I just read, because she said, she used to live near there, and she's upset when they bought out Smithfield.
Makes me laugh. What's up, Brian? And what's up, Wendy? Lady T Survival.
Lady T, how's it?
That's awesome.
Tough question from Mark, our gray man. I've never heard of this soft boiling some eggs.
I've never tried to soft boil eggs. I know some people do. Isn't it like some sort of cuisine or something like that? Some people like that where you open the egg and it's still like, I think it's the white is like hard, but the yellow is still.
That's called poached eggs.
Yeah, that's yeah, poached eggs. Yeah, right.
Nope, not this guy. I remember when I was a kid and I, living on a farm back in the day and playing football. The football coach said if you wanted to bulk up and get big and tough, you're supposed to drink 2 raw eggs in the morning.
What was in those eggs? What's up, Caribbean House? What's up, Bushcraft? Muzzle Flash. I was talking about you the other day, Muzzle.
Good to see you.
Clever ever.
Oh, the dogs are just going nuts already this morning.
Clever ever. We can touch on that as well in regards to the beef, because a lot of people after they received the information that they received last night from a good source. Everybody knows who Christian, the Ice Age Farmer, is. I'm assuming most people watch him. Where you saw that JBS, the world's largest supplier of beef, has been cyber attacked and have been halted. It may have been updated since this morning. I'm not sure, but I know he had stated that they were under a cyber attack. Same thing that they did to the frozen food thing a while back, where if you notice, frozen food disappeared off the shelf in certain areas for a little bit. Not totally, but it was very sparse.
Well, let's check it out.
And then I have a great site for you guys that I picked up from Christian that I been reading today. That's pretty cool. They have a lot of good information on there in regards to our food. Oh, thanks, Muzzle. I appreciate that. I figured if you or Homestead also was in chat when I was talking about that, you guys would have known for sure because you guys are out there.
Here it is, cyber attack on meat industry. 45 minutes ago.
So it was updated as of 45 minutes ago.
Yep. So cyber attack hit JBS Meatworks in Australia and North America. So they hit both plants. So Muzzle Flash is in here, so he'll know. The attack caused its Australian operations to shut down on Monday. The company said it is working to resolve the incident. On Sunday, May 30th, JBS determined that it was the target of an organized cyber attack. Some of the servers supporting its Northern American and Australian IT systems, it said, has a statement released Monday. Resolution of this instance will take time, which may delay certain transactions with customers and suppliers. The attack shut down operations across several Australian states. JBS Australia chief executive told Industry News website Beef Central on Sunday, at which time he was not able to say how long the stoppage would last. The world's largest meat packer in operations in Canada and in the United States, which on Monday marked the U.S. Memorial Day holiday. So,
I think it was at Thur that said that's why I have my Highland cows. Unfortunately, not everyone can do that. I wanted to add something to that. Now, this is speculation. I'm reading a book it's by A.A. American called, I think it's called Going Home. It's a very interesting book about an EMP situation, a false flag EMP situation, technically. But in that process, towards the end of the first book, because there's several books to the series, the U.S. declares martial law. And if they declare martial law, they will come after things like what people have stored, your foods and weapons and livestock and stuff like that. Which is a scary thought that the government has that power.
Yeah, we don't want martial law, and you don't want the blue hats in our state.
Yeah, I think they're the red hats now.
Yeah, the reds now. They change their colors, turncoats. The other thing, guys, is that there's a lot of stuff on YouTube that is not in your, I wouldn't say best interest, but I would say that a lot of YouTubers now are looking at going through, instead of getting information out to you guys, they're trying to just look at numbers, grow their channel. So be careful of what you're out there and seeing and watching. There's some legitimate websites that or YouTube channels to go to get your information. Stay close to them. Hey, Mr. Dragon, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend.
WEF just spoke about it. World Economic Forum, yeah, D14. Someone asked, what does JBS produce? They, on average, they have the capacity to process more than 200,000 cattle, 500,000 hogs, 45 million chickens, 80,000 small stock, lamb, sheep, goats, veals, and they do this per week, providing more than 32 billion pounds of product each year to the markets in the U.S. market, the Mexico market, Canadian market, Europe, and Middle East, Africa, Asia, among others, as well as Australia. They're also in Greenlee, Colorado. That's where they're centered out of.
I was going to do something. I was going to see what you thought of this. Thank you for the super chat.
Oh.
There's a dance for the super chat.
D14, by the way, Canada is now the de facto. Roger that. Wow, muzzle, that's crazy.
So I was thinking, when I get my super chats, I'll do the Jabberwocky dance. What do you think?
That's pretty cool. Ginger Ninja, that's crazy.
Oh. All right.
That is not good at all, Ginger. Depending on the chat, I don't want to jump into this too early in regards to content that you folks may be watching. But yeah, I don't know, Mark. If I should get into that already.
That's what this is all about. This is Wake Up with me and you.
Well, we have about 30 in chat?
Yep, we got 30. Guys, share this out, please. Let everybody know that we're up this morning and running.
And for you folks who've met Mark here on his channel and whatnot, tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Mark's going to be on my channel. We're going to go interview style with Mark. We're going to dive into Mark a little bit of spit it out, Gray, his history and what got him into homesteading. We're going to dive deep into more of the prepping side of things and the homesteading thing, or the prep setter as they like to call it, and dive into some wild edibles and plants. We're gonna just do a whole breakdown on Mark. So if you guys are interested to get to know Mark a little bit better, he'll be on my channel this evening in an interview style format at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks, Ginger, for that information. So for you folks that are in chat, I see it's fluctuating a little bit, but I just want to say something. And I was talking to Mark about this earlier. Is you want to keep your eye on you no problem. I got this. You want to keep your eye on the prize. I've been watching a lot of prepper channels, even some homesteading channels that are kind of taking their eye off what we should be prepping for. Food, water, means of survival, things like that. They're going down these paths of drawing your attention to things that you shouldn't need to worry about. And I don't want to be specific because then you guys might figure out who I'm talking about or the multiple channels that I'm talking about. I don't like to call people out. But what we should be focusing on is, ways to prep food, ways to gardening, ways to survive, homesteading, different sets of skills, water purification, all that kind of educational stuff that's super important outside of the realms of things that that you can't really do much about. Let's say, I'll use this one because no one's been talking about this one lately. But let's say there's a massive, asteroid coming to the world. And it's a million miles out and it's going to come and hit the US or whatnot. And it's all speculative, but you're intrigued by it because, it's like this world ending event or, stuff like that. But the actual statistics behind something like that happening are very slim to none. Now, economic collapse, you might have more of a possibility of something like that happen. Coronal mass ejections, civil unrest, disaster preparedness, hurricanes, tornadoes, droughts, food supplies, supply chain shortages, things like this can affect us in the now and directly versus something that's not real. Just like the U.S. or currently the Pentagon is pushing out this lot of misinformation on things that fly around. The Pentagon is pushing this out. My question is why? Why are they pushing out this information in regards to stuff like this? And the fact that it seems like they're trying to get our minds off other things like what's happening out. What is it? With the food supply, what's happening with the droughts, what's happening with, our lumber prices, what's happening with gas prices, what's happening, everything that's affecting us now. They say they want to push out this information and get us distracted from what's really important. So some other people are going to take some of this information and put it on their channel and for views. They want it for views. And I've learned this myself personally. I can put out a really good video about prepping. And it may not get that many views as if I was to talk about something that's mainstream in the news, let's say some sort of political event or something like that that's really crazy, or something scary or something to freak you out. What is it, that shock factor? So I think Mark used a reference this morning about Bigfoot. We're all curious about it. We would all like to know if Sasquatches and Bigfoots and all kinds of stuff like that exist in the wild. But with today's technology, you have FLIR, infrared technology. You have high-res cameras that can see, a tattoo on someone's butt on the moon. Even my phone that I have with me now, I can take a picture of the moon and see craters with it on my phone. So if any of this stuff was factual, if anything had scientific evidence that here it is and what it is in our country, you don't think our government has a way to actually physically see it, have the most crispest 4K high-resolution images of this stuff, and so on and so forth. So please, folks, just be careful of what you're digesting as content. Keep your eye on the prize, which is, being prepared, being, self-sufficient, with learning gardening, learning homesteading, learning prepping tips, storing food, all kinds of stuff like that, canning, stuff like that that's super important versus the things that you can't control or that might be mythical in nature. I could do a video about unicorns. I probably get a lot of views, but has anybody actually, took a picture or found a unicorn? Just saying, it's mythology. I think is what it's labeled as, and that's my spiel. That's my rant for the morning.
I was actually, it's interesting because, okay, so the hodag, here's a perfect example, guys, is the hodag was started, that's in Upper Rhinelander, so that's north of us. They were in the 1960s, there's a lumber company and the town was going under. It was a lumber area. So the moral of the story, the guy made up this story about this mythic creature called the hodag up there and scared half the town, the bejeebas, out of them. And to make a long story short, it's a mascot for the town now and everything else. There's so many different ones that, like the Mothman. If you go to Pleasantview, the town of Pleasantview, you heard about the Mothman. There's so many different things. I was actually teaching Hunter this the other night. Our drones that we have, I can be 400 feet in the air, like you see behind me right now. These guys had no idea I was even out there. Our footage that we have with the drones and stuff with our cameras, put the big lenses on them, we can see a long ways. If somebody, Bigfoot, Mothman, the little spaceships flying around, you'd think by now somebody would have caught some evidence, a body, something like that, okay. So we have to have some common sense when it comes to this stuff. I know it's really cool. Hey, the little things up in the air flying around and the lights and everything else. One thing interesting this morning, which I thought was a little out of the norm, is there was a spacecraft. Now it just says spacecraft. It doesn't say aircraft. It didn't say this or it didn't say that. It said craft. I'm sorry. It didn't say what it was. That crashed near Area 51. So everybody knows the facts about Area 51 and all the hocus pocus around that area. But Gray's absolutely right. Why would it's a known fact in our world that we live today. They always want us thinking about something else. They want to keep our mind going this direction, because if there's chaos in the mind, you can't concentrate on one subject and one thing. We have to keep and focus on the prize, all the time.
Right.
It's hard to see it.
Heritage. It's all real, right? And if you guys look at history, if you guys want to dig into history of Groom Lake, aka Area 51, they did do a lot of test flights of military craft out there. You know what I mean? They want you to think it's something that's out of this world, but usually it's our own government, using specific types of tech. Now, I'm not dismissing the whole thing and saying it's all hodgepodge and whatnot. I mean, there could be a possibility. Statistically speaking, the amount of planets and the size of the universe and all that stuff like that, but can you prep for that? You know what I mean? I know we watch movies and invasions and all that stuff like that, but technically I feel that it's more relevant to prep for be prepped for things like, natural disasters and things of that nature that you can actually, prep for, you know what I mean?
Ice Age, you brought it up, Ice Age farmers talking about the food. And we knew the food shortage was going to hit hard last year already. With the drought down south and what was happening on these fields that you're seeing, this bean planter going, or bean harvester that's going right now behind me, they quick and spun around and they planted cow beans, and I think 4 or 5 of these massive sized fields just to send down south so that they could have some kind of feed for the animals. And I mentioned this many times before. Last year I had another source that told me that they were taking livestock taken out in fields and shooting them because they could not process them fast enough. And I do have the stats from the Kissinger report showing that we cannot sustain the people that we have in the world today with the food that they need already. So by time, it's time you guys, we really need to buckle down, think about how we can grow our own food. How can we thrive and just not survive? Like my biggest concern right now, my only concern that I'm thinking about is water. Because the rest of it, you think about it, you can go 3 days without water. You can go 3 weeks without food. It's not going to be fun, but you can go 3 weeks. You can't do that. But you need water. So if our water is contaminated, if we have deep wells, I've been talking to a bunch of other people because that's my issue is deep well. How do I get the water out if I have no electricity? The old pail? That'll take a while. And I'm not going to want to do that in the middle of 30 below, 40 below weather. Obviously, if it's that, I'd be melting my snow. But there's other things that we need to be worried about at what's coming. Chemtrails, polluting our soil, polluting our plants, our gardens, heat.
It's pretty interesting. What? If you saw what WD wrote, that was pretty interesting.
Well, let me see here. I got to, you know what I forgot? I forgot to do some things here. Hang on a second.
You're fine. Lady T Survival, you should prep for things like, natural disasters. You should prep things for, economic collapse and aspect of devaluation of the dollar with inflation and hyperinflation. You should prep for things like civil unrest. You should prep for, things of nature, something that's more based on nature. If you've looked at, the coronal mass ejections and the way they affect the Earth's atmosphere, if there's ever a large enough one, if they hit in the right spots, they can do things. There's things that has more sustenance than stuff like, asteroids and little green men and, and oddball things like that. It's great. When I want to watch that kind of content, I go to the Discovery Channel or, like that. And I'll watch that stuff. You know what I mean? Watch the speculation on that.
You Glock and roll. Okay, here we go. Here's a comment.
Clever Ever, I get you. I agree. A lot of, and that's what I get. Clever Ever is a lot of people in my chat when I do most of my stuff about prepping, they say, you know what, Gray, thank you so much for doing this type of information, because a lot of folks have lost focus on this type of stuff, and thank you for keeping it the way you do. So I know it must be doing at least a little something right to get those type of comments, which is truly appreciated. Thorhaven, you're right on the money.
Lady T is asking what she needs to prep for then, or is that what your Lady T?
Yeah, that's what I was answering. And Thorhaven Farms actually added to that with ice storms, snowstorms, train derailments, foods, and again, like the food supply. That's a huge thing. If the food supply, the supply chain goes down, and you're prepped with food and water and stuff like that, then you're good to go. Look what happened in Texas. We can refer back to Texas, where they had that freak ice situation and that cool weather that hit them. You can prep for situations like that. That's the main focus I focus on for prepping, is to be prepared for instances like that. Now it goes beyond that for long-term preps, for other things like I talked about, let's say with the economy or things further down the road.
And guys, check your stuff all. Be diligent with your stuff. Use your stuff.
Exactly, Heritage.
We really have to. I was not prepared or even thinking about some of my stuff going bad. We talked this in the beginning, and we talked a lot last week on Grays for Wakeup about the seeds. But think about what that would do if you take 100 people that all have seed vaults and they decided that, okay, crap hits the fan, I need to start growing my own food. And out of that 100 people, only a couple seeds of this and that pop up. That's a huge devastation right there.
Yeah. Heritage. And what we are told to expect because something is coming. There's things coming down the pipe. But just be careful, because I wrote a date down. A lot of folks on the conspiratorial channels that I watch just to see what's being talked about, they expected something to happen last Friday with the whole election and all the states and stuff like that. And as you can see, as of today, which is Monday, not a single thing happened. Nothing happened. They were wrong again. So
it's all to keep us. It's all keeping us occupied. If you look at it real simple, is you put that mouth, you put that rat in the maze, and you put a piece of cheese in the other end. That rat will smell that and go to that other side. Well, what if you start putting 50 pieces of cheese in each corner of a dead end? That rat ain't gonna know what to do.
WD address something to you about Baker monitor hand pumps.
You should check out Baker.
Hey, congratulations to whoever gave us a thumbs down. Truly appreciate that. They must be part of the Mythical Creature Club.
WD, check them out. I'm looking at possibly, I got to go 90 feet for a well pump. And Gray was talking the other day, and I was watching Rudy with some of the Blue Yetis and some of the solar generators so that I could hook up a solar well pump and do things that way. Long term, that would probably be my best because about how much animals I have here and the amount of water that I would have to use. People say, your water tanks, your water storage. And we went through the whole BPA and the BPS thing. So if I have a water tank and I'm using it to hold water as a last resort, but at this specific time that we're in, do I want to use that as drinking? If I know the effects of BPA and BPS, do I want to give that to my plants and my animals? So that becomes, if the pool, I mean, it's a huge water source. I mean, there's 2,800 gallons in that pool. But the problem is that leaching of the plastic. So yes, I'm very interested in the deep well extraction. I'm just looking at, I don't want to be out there all day to fill up things because Ghost did a really good analysis. He figured out it was about 9 gallons a day that you would go through. Well, I have to double that because of my animals. That counts for cooking, that counts for washing your clothes, for bathing, all of this stuff, and that's a bare essentials. I think if Gray would figure out, he drinks, them are 16-ounce bottles or glasses that you drink.
Mm-hmm.
How many of them you go through a day?
Wow. I was going to say 16. I don't know, at least a dozen, to be honest with you.
Okay, so that's a lot of water. That's just for Gray. Now, don't you think in the times that in a stressful environment, we're going to be double that? I know for a fact in the wintertime, I don't drink enough water than when I should, especially if I'm outside. Because it just, the way the climate is, and Thornhaven will probably jump on here and talk about this too, because just to where he lives, when you're outside and you're in that environment, drinking water is not on the top of the head of saying, okay, I need to do this. And I remember taking gallon jugs out there and drinking water, and I felt like I didn't have enough water. Then I had all the snow around. I can melt snow and do everything else. So water, when you're in a stressful environment, is pretty much the last thing. When we were in the military, look at it, if we go into an event or doing something, they're always telling you hydrate, 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 hydrate all the time. So Bushcraft Family says, like the challenge I put out that you did, Gray. One question is how much water they had stored, and lots of preppers have under 50 gallons of water.
Yeah, that's was that the prepper challenge, Bushcraft?
Now, out of that 50 gallons, Bushcraft, how much of that is actually pure water, not been contaminated?
Sorry, I was looking at somebody said something in chat, so I was doing some research real quick about FEMA. I was looking on FEMA's website of all the declarations they've made in regards to disasters and whatnot.
Oh, clever ever. I see it.
Yeah. Yeah, continuing. It has to do with the 500-year floodplain. Affected wetland areas of the 100-year floodplain or may involve critical actions with the 500-year floodplain. Homeland Security is giving public notice to intent. But real quick, the website I wanted to share with you guys, which I picked up from Ice Age Farmer, is dairyherd.com and their news section. I have it pulled up now, and just as of 2 hours ago, it says recent rains won't be enough to rid plains southwest of a drought. A dire drought situation is the one of the USDA meteorologist Brad Ripley thinks could last through at least the remainder of 2021. Forecast also points to drier weather patterns returning for Texas and the plains. Dragon, it's funny to say that. I was doing a nature walk video one time, and I was explaining to everybody what I was doing is learning all my local sources of water, ponds, creeks, anything that I could find out in my area in a 50-mile range from where I'm at, looking for water sources, just in case things go really south.
I was going to tell you too, Moon did a little study the other day and about filter systems, and we were talking about if they filter out the bad, do they filter out the good? In the stuff she was reading, no, it doesn't. The minerals that stay in the water stay there. So I don't know if the minerals are heavier or smaller or are bigger, so they don't go through the filter systems, or how it all works. I didn't really get into it, but
yeah, WD. You had said the forest fires have created a lot of issues out there, and a lot of people throughout the U.S. have had some blackouts that I've noticed as of lately. And bushcraft, I agree. A lot of them do forget about water preps. And Lady T. Survival, you're right on the money. If you have livestock, you got to have water and food for those folks as well.
Oh, this isn't good either.
Yeah, that's what I was just talking about. Also, here on the website that I'm looking at, dairyherd.com, it says California farmers leave fields fallow. What does that mean? I'm not familiar with this term. FALLOW.
Where are you reading that?
I can share my screen. Well, yeah, I can share my screen with you. You can kind of see what I'm talking about. Let me go over here and share that. Share screen.
You want me to put it up?
Yeah, it's not a problem. I can show everybody where I'm at.
Hold on. We got to get our names and stuff out of there. There we go.
So this is the website I'm at right here. It's dairyherd.com. This is what I was talking about, where the recent rains and stuff like that here. But also I came down to here where this is what I was trying to say. It says California farmers leave fields fallow as drought grows more dire in the West. And it'll go into, there's a lot of information you guys can pick up from this website. There's some regular stuff on here, but this is where Ice Age Farmer got a lot of his information from as well, which I thought was pretty cool. But you guys can dig through that if you guys want to check out this website here at dairyherd.com. If you guys want to, keep an eye on stuff like that that's going on, has to do with food and whatnot.
Yeah, so Heritage, you have a good point there. It says, how can the mineral stay in its filter? A friend of mine told me sometimes it's too tasty like fresh water because the filters everything. And that is kind of what I thought too, is like it doesn't taste like that fresh water. It's not, when you get filtered water, it's not the same as when you drink that fresh water. And I thought the same thing too. But at the same time, you got to remember that these reports, who's putting these reports out? Who's doing the testing? Is it one of us that is looking for harsh chemicals versus, these guys that are just trying to push out something that they're trying to sell? So we can only get, and the information that we read is what we're given. We have to do a physical test to figure it out for ourselves. Does a Sawyer pull as much as the crap that it's getting out of there, the chemicals and the bad algae and the stuff like that? Is it also pulling the minerals and the nutrients out? That's a good point. Gray Man Prepping.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying thank you for some of the folks that elaborated on the word follow, and also Miss Chief had put some information in there. And D14, yeah, the Dust Bowl. I've heard that rumors that the Dust Bowl might be bigger than it was. When was it, in the 40s? Was that big Dust Bowl era? That they're expecting to see that again, but possibly bigger. But like I said, I'm speculating. I don't know for sure. This is just stuff that I've read.
Yeah, you guys are talking about just coverage. So these fields that are behind me, if we wouldn't have some kind of secondary, and sometimes they put a third crop on there, they'll just put wheat or a winter rye or whatever on there. As soon as the stuff comes off, like if you're watching this guy right now behind me, he's picking the beans right now. And within a day or two, they will already be tilling this back in, and they will be planting the next crop on there just for that fact, because you get winds across these fields. If you got a normal wind of 10, 15 miles an hour in town, you get out into these open fields like this, that jumps up to 40, and that's pulling all the dirt off the fields.
That's pretty interesting, Harvey Black. Harvey Black says he came, checked out stainless steel water canisters, 90-gallon tank for $750, a 200-gallon tank for $1,100, and a 1,000-gallon stainless steel tank for about $3,500. And the whole reason about the whole, like, a lot of you guys are talking about the follow that I had just talked about. And like Lady He just said, where they're not going to put a crop on it and let the land rest. We're already in somewhat of a food shortage. So that's just going to make it worse, if that makes any sense, because there's going to be less food. So food prices are going to skyrocket.
So here's another one where you can talk about what we were talking this morning about the no truck drivers and everything else for the food shortage. WD says, anyone notice a shortage? No tractors, chainsaws, pickups, semi trucks to be had.
Even shipping containers are in high demand, but the supply is not there. And Ice Age also talked about that. There's about he said, I think from what he stated, I think he actually got it from dairyherd.com, was there was a shortage of 100,000 truckers that support for gas and milk and other supplies.
Here's a big issue too. So now if you're being restricted to water your plants.
Yeah, from my understanding, the government is doing that. The government is shutting off the water supply to those farmers, if I recall correctly. Oh, they're out west. And Rudy over at the Alaska Prepper made a statement one time that made total sense. He said the amount of money, I think California is they're doing what is it called, a stimulus bill for their folks. I think it's like a half a $1 billion for the state to kind of boost their economy because of the massive lockdowns that they've had. But why don't they invest that money into a desalination plant for water?
You want to touch this one? Muzzle Flash asking, if you filter your own water, then store it in a container, how long should it last?
Depending on the container. I mean, if it's plastic, then you're going to have some issues. That's why we were talking about stainless steel and stuff like that, and other forms of water storage. But I always joke around that I have 10,000 gallons in my backyard, and it's because I have a pool. And a lot of people say, well, your pool has chlorine. But if everybody knows, you take a 5-gallon bucket, you scoop it out of that pool, let it sit in the sun, that chlorine will evaporate, and you can then filter that water and drink it.
Not only that, what is our biggest organ, guys?
The skin.
The skin. So how many people that are in the chat right now have swam in a chlorified or chlorine pool? You guys ever get out of the pool and you're kind of like droggy, and you're especially if you go to like the big pools where they have a lot of kids, because they really load the chlorine up in case the kid has an accident in the pool. And you get out of that pool, your eyes are burning because they're red and irritated by the chlorine. Your skin will take that in, and hey, look at, there's ghost. So our skin is a major organ, is the biggest organ in our body. So if we go swimming in a chlorinated pool, we are taking in that chlorine. That's why the pools are tested on a regular basis, and you have your guidelines to stay within. Salt water is probably going to be a lot better than, or fresh water will be a lot better than a chlorine pool, but some people don't have that. Right. What's you got somebody to come in and do your pool grade, or do you do it yourself?
I do have a trusted guy. He's a friend of the family that does the pool for me because of my time constraints.
And I'm sure he's testing it every time to make sure that it's at the right levels, because if it's too chlorinated, just like when you shock a pool for us, we have to go heavy on the shock when we open up the pool in the spring because of all the stuff that's in there. And we have to test it, make sure it's ready to go swimming in. So
thanks, Bushcraft. And Muzzle, Yeah, if you do have plastic, man, and that's all you have, it's better than having nothing, to be honest with you. But hopefully you have it in a cool, dark, place, because you don't want heat or sunlight and things like that of like that nature to affect the water that you have stored in those plastic containers, because that will just accelerate the process of the whatever's in the plastic to leach into your water supply.
Now, does your pool have a liner or is it tile and concrete?
It's concrete.
So, and then on that they have special paint on the outside, I'm guessing too. Yeah.
It's the water sealer. That's why I say even if you pull the water out of there and you let the chlorine evaporate, to go ahead and still filter that water just in case, because birds will fly over, insects, things like that will get in the water as well. And and like since Ghost is in chat, I was gonna say look what Ghost has done with his channel. You don't see Ghost talking about comments. You don't see Ghost talking about things flying in the air. You don't see Ghost talking about unicorns and Sasquatches and stuff like that. Ghost is showing you, gardening. Ghost is showing you canning. He's showing you skills and techniques that will help you survive in a situation versus, some hypothetical thing that's not gonna. It's just distracting you.
Life in the life with Bobby, that is a proven fact even for city water, because that's how they sometimes when they're cleaning out their main pipes, there's a certain amount of bleach. Like when I go to my grandma's, she lives in town, and she lives in a retired for old folks home, and I'll go over there and I'm like, this thing stinks like bleach, because I'm used to my water here that's just strictly out of the well. And then they're watering with that. She's like, isn't that bad for me to water with that? I said, absolutely. Your plants do not like bleach. But I understand your pain. So I buy bottled water.
Dragon, I've been looking into that. Dragon, if you want to email me and give me some more information on that, if you have some tips, I'd like to know. So far, all the ways I've looked up are pretty expensive. But if you have some ideas, please email them to me. I'd like to know. And Mischief, I agree. And that's what I was talking about earlier. I want it to be tangible as well. If they exist, I want it to land on the White House lawn. There we go.
Hey, Dragon, if you want to actually see how a distiller works, go check out my apple juice video. Because how this works is you're boiling the water. So for those old folks that like the old moonshine series kind of things, you're boiling that water. It comes into a tube and it comes down, and you're actually catching the steam, and then it reconcentrates into water and it goes down into a mason jar, like what I do with my applesauce or my apple juice. There's your distilled water.
Where was it? I saw, and I saw Arc Wildman. Arc Wildman is in chat. He's another channel. He doesn't go off the deep end and talk about things that don't exist. He's showing you skills, survival stuff. You know what I mean? There's a lot of great channels out there that will show you educational information, how to prep, how to survive, how to garden. Like Mark himself, with the homesteading things. Some great content amongst a lot of channels out there. But there's a few that are a bit distracting.
Thor Haven. What did Fox really say? I'm a redneck. I think we all got a little bit of redneck in us. It's called redneck. If you don't have that, you're not a homesteader, prepper, or anything else. Because I'll try to grab anything off the homestead to make something before I'll run to the store and get it. Whoa.
That's Starlink. There's a lot of things that are misidentified most of the time, and then when you dig deep into it, you can find out that it's actually explainable.
Sometimes we also, you guys, even if we're not getting onto the religious side of things, we have to remember to get back to the basics of what things are in life, and being a good person. Honesty is the best policy. Those, there's times too when I say, we did this, we did that. And then, Moon or somebody else, Gray, how many times have you said that in yourself when you're, oh, I watered this, and all right, we did this on here, and it was actually Mama did this stuff. And so I got to remember, you got to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah, agreed. Really, Dragon, that's pretty intriguing. I'm definitely going to look into that because that is pretty intriguing and be very beneficial into an area like my own. Hold on. Yeah, and Northern Girl, you've been doing some great videos lately as well. Been doing some good stuff out there, man. I'm glad to see a lot of people are focused on, on canning and gardening, and different types of survival skills, the medicinal plants, the edible plants, things that we could really all learn and that we need to digest and to share, I wish a lot of us other folks were, some folks were on the same page. I've watched, things that people have put up that, talk about, all kinds of weird stuff. And I'm just like, man, I just don't understand. It's not beneficial. And that's, Chris, I agree. That fear mongering aspect of things, it's not a good thing. It does stress people out. People get, and when you're stressed out or you have a lot of fear, sometimes you make impulsive decisions that can be non-beneficial to your preps and into your survivability. Right on, D14. And like I said, I'm not picking on anybody in any specific channel. I'm just talking in general. I'm generalizing. Agreed, Bushcraft. That's how I feel too. If I wanted to spend my time, doing that, I would watch just mainstream media because most of what they say is mythical.
Great. You guys don't forget tonight on Gray's channel, Gray's going to tear me apart and interview me for the first time. I'm a little nervous.
Yeah, we're going to tear into Mark, man. We're going to get in deep into Mark tonight. If me and Mark were talking, I think if you guys have watched some of my content, I said, me and Mark talk a lot. We're friends. We talk sometimes, most of the time on a daily basis. I said, but we've never done a deep, when I first met Mark a while back, I said, Mark, I want to interview you. And he was like, well, you've never have. And I said, well, Mark, let's fit you in this Tuesday and let's actually do an interview of, Mark from Rolling Homestead. So we're going to dive into that and kind of, go through a lot of different things. So it should be pretty intriguing, to be honest with you. If you guys have seen my past interviews, you guys, I've done a lot of people. I've done Hutch. I've done, Quebec, Mallory Quebec Homestead. I've done a lot of folks. I've even done big channels like Prepper Nurse 1, Angry Prepper, Alaska Prepper. So it's fun, Matter of fact, one time we'll have to do Ghost one of these times too. I'll have to do a deep dive. Ghost has been on my panel before on Thursdays, but I've never actually interviewed Ghost and did a deep dive on Ghost as well. I like it because every time I do interviews on certain folks, people are like, wow, I really never knew that about certain people. Some of the stories they tell. Like Jason has a huge channel. When I did the interview with him, a lot of folks had no clue some of the stuff that we dived into. So it's pretty intriguing stuff. I enjoy it.
Yeah, Jess, I just looked at it. Jess was just talking about dehydrating spruce tips. Spruce tip tea. And no, Dragon, the funny thing with people asking about peppers, this is one that everybody has asked me about. When you're eating hot food, hot peppers, the truly hot stuff, for my experience and my knowledge and for my eating things that I probably shouldn't eat, is when you're getting in that extreme heat, it doesn't affect you in the morning. Which is a good thing, because if it would be treacherous. But it's funny that you say that.
Multitasking.
So Northern Girl, I just made lilac, dandelion, and spruce tip wine. That's cool.
I don't know. I know every morning with my whatever I decide to consume, a biscuit or slice of bread or whatever, I'm always having dandelion jam on my stuff.
What are you gonna do when you run out?
I don't know yet, man. That's what I'm hoping I can get these dandelions growing here, man. Like I told you last night, we bought man, we bought so much stuff last night we're diving into gardening, like 500%, man. We bought a lot more soil and cow manure and perlite and peat moss and just a lot more stuff. A few more odds and ends with the seeds. So we're gonna actually. I'm pondering right now of building something. I don't want to build something that's permanent because of where I'm at. This is not my land, so I'm gonna build something semi-permanent. And I spent about 2 hours last night watching channels who've used stuff like PVC, people who've used rebar, people who've used metal conduit, people who've used stuff to use for your chain link fences, and trying to see the most affordable but most semi-permanent where I can take it down if I need to and make it like nothing was ever there. So look forward to that. I'll be coming up with something here soon enough.
Kiddie pools.
Well, I'm trying to think of a way to shade, like almost greenhouse, but with a shade cloth because of the heat. It'll reduce the temperature inside there for certain vegetables, like let's say spinach or broccoli or some of the leafy greens and stuff like that. It can sit longer. I can't find anything on whether it can sit longer before you make jelly out of it. Oh, so Chris says everything I see to let the dandelion tea sit for about 24 hours. Can it sit longer? I can't find anything on whether or not it can sit longer before you make it jelly out of it. Mark, I mean, since you've made it, you would know.
You got to remember, some things it tells you to steep for 24 hours or longer. I know with lilac, we learned that you need to let that steep longer and then you do your stuff. But some things, I mean, we just pretty much, we half an hour, I think, for the dandelion, and then right in a pot, we started making jelly with it. And then we took some of the leaves from the bigger ones, the flower, and we would put them all in the jelly as we were making it. So some of our jelly jars actually have dandelion leaves, or not the leaves, but the flower petals in it. So good to see your Arc, man, or Arc Wild. Glad you came in here. I missed you before. And Ghost is going back to his rabbit cages. Glad you could stop in and join us, Ghost.
I knew that eventually. Okay.
Lady T says Gray's going to roast Mark.
Chris said that sometimes he'll get mold on top of the tea if he leaves it too long.
Yeah.
It's like North Shore Preparedness said. He said, with all the information that Mark holds, Mark should have 50,000 subscribers. We should have like at least 500 people in chat right now because of the type of information that Mark has to offer. Good
to see you, Bing. Glad you could come in here. It's just because YouTube don't want information. Yeah, I don't. We got to remember who owns Google, who's running this. Let's dig into this. Like I said, with a lot of stuff, how do you get away from big? You got big companies, big corporations, and big pharma. They all are tied in. And what does my channel consist of? Staying away from big companies, big pharma, all that other stuff, the big seed company, and they don't want that information out there.
Yeah, Dragon, we've been talking about incorporating that as well. The trellises underneath that shade as well, for certain for climbing plants. We got a lot of ideas brewing. It's just having the time to do them all. But we'll see what we get this year because, like I said, Florida's growing season is kind of all year round, so I should be able to be doing something on a consistent basis.
Yeah, I mean, I would in the fall. I'd switch over to my fall crops, and if I lived in Florida, I'd be switching over to my fall crops, and I'd be growing the stuff that that doesn't like that extreme heat that you guys get. But one thing that you've got going for you is plants love humidity.
You have plenty of that.
And you have plenty of that. The only thing, like, I would not, because I'm not in the environment, is like the mold and stuff that grows on the soil because of that amount of humidity that's there. That's kind of would be interesting.
Yeah, we ran into that situation with one of our pots. It was the broccoli. And what did she use? was it cinnamon? I think it was cinnamon. Cinnamon will get rid of that. If you start seeing a little bit of mold on the soil from the humidity, if there's too much moisture, you put cinnamon on it, and it kills that mold and stops it. It kind of retards it.
The other thing too is just air, the movement. We do that. That's one of the reasons why we prune our tomatoes so high on the base, and I'll get them about 2 foot off the ground with no leaves, just so there's an airflow underneath there, because it's shaded, it stays moist. You're going to have mold, bacteria, and rot, all that other stuff that goes in that area. So we get them in the air as high as we can, so that we don't get that. Hey, Blake, good to see you, man. What's up?
What's up, brother? Heritage, yes, you're correct. Too much shade can be a thing. That's why you gotta know what plants to put in there and what plants. Some plants like just plenty of sunlight. They want sunlight 90% of the time.
Yeah, the milkmaid the other night was they're talking about soil and building your soil and stuff like that, and I kind of went on my soapbox about back to Eden method soils and actually building your soil instead of just worrying about what you're growing in your plants, because the biggest plant that you have is your soil. If your soil isn't right, your plants will never be right. And there's ways that you can keep your moisture in your soil. Is you can use wood chip, you can use mulch, that keeps that moisture in the soil, and it doesn't allow it to evaporate off as fast. And at the same time as you're feeding your soil, because as it decomposes, all the nutrients and goes into your soil. So you have your carbons, and then you have your organics. You put the two together and you have compost.
Well, that sucks, Ginger Ninja. And good to see you, CB. I tagged you in the chat as well.
CB, good to see you.
And that's the thing. It's like I said, what Mark's saying and stuff like that. You learn stuff, ways to combat mold, ways to combat certain types of bugs and aphids, and ways to pollinate your plants. People talk about ladybugs and bees and butterflies. I come to find out moths. We have a bunch of different berries, moths that hang around, and from my understanding, moths eat the bugs.
There's a lot of things that if we, what? Sorry, Lady T, hit the wrong button. What the heck?
Were we trying to put something up?
I was trying to make somebody a mod, and I unmodded Lady T. I got to remod.
Asymmetrical Preparedness did that to me one time. He was like, "Oh, Gray, I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry." Another great channel, Michael at Asymmetrical. He's been doing some really good videos in regards to gardening and prepping and stuff like that. Like I said, folks, there's a plethora of great channels out there. So you have your pick. You, the subscribers, have your pick what to watch and what to digest. And so make sure if you're spending an hour or two on a live chat, that it has relevant information to you, that you're learning. It's just it's just not, you're not watching a live stream to watch people talk about, oh, there's Russia is going to do a nuclear attack on Crimea and blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying that's happening. I'm just using that for an example, but, spend 2 hours talking about that when what can you really do about it? Other than, just be prepared. I'd rather be watching content that's teaching me something. And I've been watching gardening channels. I've been watching all kinds of different things, channels on gear reviews, other prepper channels that have things that I don't know about. I've talked to you folks about Graybeard, the Green Beret. The Gray-bearded Green Beret. There's some channels out there that actually teach you life skills. So I think it's just very pertinent. Really, Harvey, that's interesting. Keto, I heard rabbit poo is pretty good. I could probably find it, but right now cow manure is very affordable for me to get and easy to find.
See, your rabbit poo is instant. That's what, you can literally clean the cage out and dump it in your garden, and it's not going to burn it like cow manure. Mm-hmm. Or like with me, chicken poo is another really, really good one. But if you put it on too early and you don't let it break itself down, it'll burn the plants.
Heritage, you never know when I'm watching. I watch a lot of content. But no, yeah, I know. And Ghost had mentioned that as well about rabbit poo. Like I said, this is me and my wife's first year gardening. I heard someone the other day was talking about prepping, and he says a lot of preppers should, be involved in gardening. Some aren't. Some just they stack food. There's different various forms of preppers. If that makes sense to you folks out there. If I could redo it all over again, I thought about being, instead of gray man prepping, I would be gray man preparedness. But because you have preppers that all they do is, let's say, stock canned goods. They're prepping canned goods and stuff like that. But there's a bigger picture than just canned goods and certain things like that. Learning bushcrafting skills, gardening skills, survival skills, how to build shelters, fires, all that stuff like that. And then I think Jason at the Angry Prepper talked about there's some prepper channels out there that never leave their home. They're just inside and they're telling you certain things, but you've never seen them apply those skills. I've watched certain prepper channels where they try to show you something and it doesn't, for some reason, they're doing it wrong. And I'm looking at it and like, man, I want to say something, but maybe they're just learning, because I went through that process too of learning. There's certain things that I did years and years ago that I started doing and learned the fact that I was doing it ass backwards. And I was like, wow, I'm glad I watched this channel. Now I'm doing it right. Or I learned, because we're always learning. You can't be an Ike. Has anybody ever heard that term? Mark, you ever heard of Ike? What an Ike is? An nope. Ike is a I know everything. You have this I know everything folks out there. And nobody knows everything.
I'll tell you what too, and one of the things, and this goes for anybody, Gray's talking about using your stuff and trying it out. If you're cold and you're in the pre stages of hypothermia, and you go and you try to start a fire when your hands are shaking so bad that you can't hang on to anything, you don't have a dry bird's nest, you don't have any of the things that you need to start that fire to get that thing rolling, you really will understand the aspects of trying to learn your stuff, how to go into a wet environment and look for dry tinder and stuff like that. The only way that you're going to do that is to go out in your area and walk around and look for yourself, because the bottom line is that if all else fails and your resort now becomes compromised, your retreat is now compromised, you got to go find a new place and you got to start everything all over again. You're going to need that skill set to rebuild.
Thorhaven, you're right on the money. I think, Mark, didn't you and I talk about this? People who prepare for, like, prepping food, you know what I mean? Like, we buy, let's say Nutrient Survival, we buy, Augustin's Farm, we buy food, we do canning, we do a lot of stuff. And some people, let's say, have a year's supply of food, but some of that stuff you don't, in an emergency situation, you don't want to dive into it. You want to have a self-sustainable garden where you can pick from that fresh stuff. And then worst case scenario, you have that to fall back on.
Yeah, you think about it, and put on top of what Gray's talking about. If you go into your long-term food supplies, let's say the power goes out, or you have a hurricane. Now he's just starting hurricane season down by him. We have these weathers that are out of the ordinary coming in by us. So let's say we have a tornado or straight line winds, and they take out the power again for a week. Now, if I crank in and I start going and burning up my long-term food storage when I really need them, they're not going to be there. So you have to diversify. You have to have other plans. The military uses stage 3. There's a reason. You have your primary, your secondary, and your tertiary. Your tertiary is your third stage of protection. So use that as your life, in your life too. What's my first? What's my second? What's my third? And then after you get that stuff created, then you can go into what's my backup from my backup to my backup.
Right.
The bottom line is your best prep, your best idea is to grow it, because then it becomes a renewable resource. And then you always will have that food stage. You might have to do some preparing so that greenhouse, if you're in a cold environment, or if you're worried about the chemtrails or something like that, you're gonna want to have a greenhouse to protect your plants, your shades. Once you get your stuff dialed in where you know that you got this going, then you can work on your next step to that. Canning long-term food storage, dehydrating putting them in long-term storage, Mylar versus containers. But go Bill. All right, I gotta let him out, I think.
All right, Heritage and Thorhaven, appreciate you guys hanging out with us for a little bit, and hopefully we'll see you this evening on my channel. Look forward to talking with you guys again. me see. Working with injury is hard. Just practice with that. It takes a lot more energy. Agree, Ginger Ninja. That's a good point. I've learned, and this is gonna. I learned it from one of the people that I follow. Is how to if you injure your arm. Let's say you're a righty, right, and you do everything with your right hand. And you're in a survival situation. How to put a tourniquet on with one-handed tourniquet, or how to start a fire with one hand. How to prepare and do certain things with one hand. How to build a shelter with one hand. A lot of those tips can come in super handy, and it'll push your ability to make you strive to learn things differently than just having the capability of using two hands or two legs or whatever the case may be.
All right, everybody goes out and then leave the dogs in, and then they're sitting here whining they want to go outside because everybody's outside.
And Harvey, you're right on the money with that. I talked about that as well in my water storage video. That you don't want to store water in old milk jugs. Beyond the toxic chemicals, they also have residuals of milk in there that can create bacterial growth and whatnot in those containers.
Well, you got to look at also too is that if you wouldn't put water in a plastic container, are you going to put your long-term food or your acidic foods? Look at your guys. If you're a canner, vinegar is the main source of all our canning stuff. And you look at how they're sending vinegar out now, it is in plastic. So if you can make your own, like we make our own apple cider vinegar and stuff like that. I try not to buy anything now that's in plastic, plain and simple. I don't care if I can get away with it, or if I do have to have it in plastic, there's no means that otherwise I'll bring it and put it in glass when I get home.
And Dragon was talking about they only last for about 6 months and they'll break. And the reason it drew my attention is because I was talking about storing your lamp oil. Some folks who store lamp oil, I don't know if you guys have had this issue. Maybe Florida is different in the climate and humidity they're in, but if you have the big bottles of lamp oil like I did, I noticed after they sit there for a while, for some reason the lamp oil will leach out of the plastic container that's in. So I have now, on the video that I did about storing stumping, I don't know what video I did, but I did a video not too long ago, and I take all my lamp oil and I put it into the 5-gallon gas cans, and it works really well to store excess lamp oil.
Now, the other thing that you got to look at too is you're doing these preps. If you're a homesteader, you have to have food for the pets and for the animals.
Food and water.
Food and water. So one of the things that we do is in the summertime, we grow an excess of food that I can throw to the animals. My dogs eat stuff out of the gardens. My chickens love everything out of the garden. Do that. That's a great way for a great food source. And then in the fall time, we'll take our excess and I'll actually freeze them outside. And then for number one for chickens is if you got a zucchini or a squash that you have frozen, it's a play toy until it unthaws, and then they eat it. It's a good way to continuously do that. Making the runs so that they're heated in the summertime. I mean, if you've seen the extreme cold weather chicken coop, there's actually corn growing in December when it's 17 below outside. So there's ways of doing things. We just have to think outside that box. Don't be one of those guys or gals that'll sit there and this is all that they see. We have to sometimes open up our eyes and sometimes listening to someone else and say, hey, have you tried this yet? That bulb lights up in our head and go, hey, wait a minute. That's why I love this community so much. And you guys is it's just not me and Gray talking about stuff. There's a lot of you guys also putting your information in there that helps out everybody. So
yeah, CB, when I did that video, a lot of folks said that in chat or in the comment section, like, wow, that's a really good idea for storing that lamp oil. Yep. Milkmaid. Yeah, Milkmaid, you're right. I don't know if you saw that too, Mark, at the same time I did. Hey, Mark, cheers.
Finally, you got one, huh?
I found a couple of. I guess the wife had some. She's like, "Why aren't you using one with the handles?" I'm like, "We have them," and she's like, "Yeah." Agreed, Bushcraft. I do learn a lot. That's why every video I do, like the video what did I do yesterday? 10 essentials for your car to have in your car, and I have everybody add to my content in the comment section, because I've noticed people are reading through the content or the comment section after I do a video, and we're all learning from each other because we all have something to add.
I was going to add something and I forgot to tell you. The battery banks for us up here, mine froze.
Oh, that's right. You're in that extreme cold.
So,
and yeah. I do say that, Mark. I do tell folks, depending on your environment, things can differ in what you need to have in your vehicle.
Mine actually froze because what happens is those battery packs, if they're not on a trickle charger or you're continuously charging them. So like what I did is I charged it up, threw it in the car, and forgot about it. And then I go to use it, and the battery was froze and didn't work. So remember that too. Your environment controls a lot of what you do, but it doesn't mean it's a hindrance. It just means it's an inconvenience.
Ginger, I agree 100% when in that statement. I think everything in your get home bag and your preps, whatever you got going on, gardening, you should apply these skills yourself in your environment and see how they work out. You can't just put something together and hope that it works. Let's say you buy some sort of a bushcraft knife or something like that, and you didn't do any research. You just bought it because it looks cool, and then you go out and use it, and it breaks on you in a survival situation. Wouldn't that be horrible? So use and test all your equipment, and check on it regularly as well.
Just go buy yourself a SOG or a K-bar, and you won't have to worry about it.
Yeah, there's certain blades that I recommend as well. I do like SOG with their warranty. They have a you can wherever you pick a SOG up and it breaks on you, if anything happens to you in a normal situation, they will replace it, no questions asked.
If you guys go check out any of my extreme winter challenges or my bushcraft videos or any of that thing, every knife that I ever have, I put them through the ringer on purpose, and I will back up K-bar as long as it's the U.S. made K-bar. The other one I will not back up, but I'll tell you what, my Beckers, my K-bars, or my SOG, my Kershaws, any of those, or even the old buck knives are great knives to have. I wouldn't take a buck knife, I guess, out in the woods for a bushcraft situation, but it's still a good knife. And by far, I'm going to say the K-bar is from cutting meat to splitting wood. The K-bar can do everything.
And Lady T, I agree. Bugging out is your last resort. That is the last resort because most people have their supplies in their home or their homestead or wherever they're at. So it is a last resort.
And then when we're bugging out and you're talking about this last resort thing, if by chance you guys run by somebody else's supplies, don't take anything, because if it was my supplies, there's a booby trap in there. You don't know which one it is.
It's funny you mentioned that, Mark. Some folks have said, hey, if you happen to find a prep stash or a prepper stash out in the woods somewhere, and there's food in it and stuff like that, or water, how do you know that stuff's not poison? How do you know it's not a ploy? For you to take that, you die from it, and they track you and then take your supplies. Just saying, it's a possibility.
If it is in a dire need situation, okay, the person that put it there, I will guarantee you will be back within 2 to 3 days to get their supplies because they're out of the same situation that you are. If you're at that point, you may want to contact and communicate with that person. If you guys, there's going to be another world of communication. If you watch that guy, I forgot his name, but he lives up in Washington, up in the federal land up there. They tie knots to communicate in a log. So that means that they need to speak with somebody. There's going to be that form of communication that's out in the wild, leaving marks on trees, rocks on trees, anything like that. There's going to be some kind of communication. I wouldn't, if I would find somebody's stash out there, that's the first thing that would come to mind is, okay, what is contaminated? What's booby trapped? Because it isn't mine, and should I even be taking this? You still have that morals. You take that. Now this is just my thinking. Is I would take that food supply. Let's say he has done nothing to it and it's legitimate, but that person that put that in there has a son, a daughter, husband, wife, they don't have the means or the skill set that I do. And I just took the easy way out by grabbing that stuff. Now they're out. So I think it's more or less a code of mine. And I would hope other people that are in the prepping community and as military, that would have that same code set of saying, just leave it alone. There's always stuff out there that you can find.
Yeah. Like there's like you said, Mark, there's every time I go out now, I see all kinds of different wild edibles and medicinal plants on my treks. Yep.
Food. I mean, guys, once you learn your wild edibles and learn your plants in your area, you go out into the woods or just on a nature hike like Gray's talking about. It's abundant. There's food all over the place. If you want cattails for you can take a cattail, pull a root off, the tuber off, clean it up, throw it in a fire, and it'll split open, and you got spaghetti.
Yeah, I've had some folks ask me about me doing the nature trail hikes and stuff like that, and there's several reasons why I do stuff like that. One, to take folks along with me that don't know Florida, naturescape, but also I do it for training and exercise. I do it to learn my environment. I do it for mapping purposes, to put things on maps, sources of water, different types of plants that I come across, so that in a worst case scenario, I have these things on my map that I can, refer to if things could really go south. So there's a lot of reasons why I do these nature hikes. They might not get as much traction as, let's say, a crazy video that gets done, but sometimes I come across pretty informative stuff. Like I had no clue that there's all these wild grapes all over my area. There's wild grapes all over the place, man.
That they're talking about Lady T, you're talking about ticks. There's one thing that I'll have on my prepper shelf that won't go bad, and that's perethrin. It's a synthetic bug and tick and deer deterrent. You actually soak your clothes in it, and then you let them hang dry is the best way of doing it. I take a 5-gallon pail, I'll mix it up. I'll put all my clothes that I'm going to be going out into the woods with. I'll let them hang dry for a day or two, and then I'll put them on. And I've watched mosquitoes go next to it and fall over, ticks start to crawl up your boot leg. One of the things, guys, you know why the military...
I don't know if I've used this before as well.
Yep. There it is right there. Tuck in your boots. Don't give an animal or a critter or an insect the opportunity to go into your leg. So if you tuck your pants into your boot, why the military had us do that? Doesn't allow the creepy crawlers to go into your leg. Wear your sleeves down. I know it's uncomfortable, and especially in the heat time, but I'll tell you what, it saves you from getting eaten alive. But that's something. What?
Sorry, I didn't mean to. I was going to say, think about the way you see the military wear their pants.
Yep.
There's a reason. They don't do it because they think it looks cool. They have them that way. They have their pants tucked into their boots for a reason. Yeah, mud works good too, Ginger. Trying to sneeze down with this soap. Come across plants I don't know. Yeah, milkmaid. I agree. And that's why I keep on going out. And every time I come across something, a few things that are interesting, because there's a lot more things that I've missed. There's all kinds of wild onions. There's, like I said, the grapes. I've come across many, many medicinal plants. As Mark was saying, we have all kinds of different. We have the pussy willows. We all kinds of stuff out there.
The other, it's good to know natural insect repellents as well for your area, such as wax, myrtle, and birch resin. Absolutely, you can do the old what I call as a hobo torch, which is just a punky wood, keep your mosquitoes on. But I'll tell you another thing, guys. If you're actually thinking about bugging out, and you're actually thinking about going in the woods, rest is not an option.
Right.
Because mosquitoes will tear you up. If you're from Canada, Alaska, Wisconsin, Minnesota, that's their national state bird in the summertime. They'll tear you right up. It don't matter if it's daylight or not. As soon as they're out and around, one of the key things to help you do that is to knock down the underbrush a little bit, but they're still going to tear you up. At nighttime, if you don't have a mosquito net, you're not going to have a good night's sleep. I'll guarantee it. And most of the time, even with a mosquito net and all you're hearing and buzzing all night long until about 2 a.m. when they finally go to sleep. So, and then you're back up at the sunrise. it's a very difficult situation to be in. So remember that concept. There are little things in life that you're going to need.
CB, yes, you can dry the yarrow. You can use it as a salve for wounds and whatnot. After you clean the wound, you can use dry yarrow. You can make yarrow powder. You can do a bunch of different stuff in poultice, like you said. So definitely it would come in handy to dry it out and store it. Kind of like Jam at the Nut House has sent me some dried herbs, stuff like that. It should be focused on there.
I'll show you a picture of the yarrow when it's ready and full of bloom.
Is it pretty?
It's pretty.
I just saw mint. What a ginger. Yeah, mint is awesome. I love my peppermint. I just like picking it up and chewing on it. Yeah, dryer sheets. That was an old. My grandmother taught me that with the dryer sheets. You can also use dryer sheets for other things as well. Surprisingly.
Yeah, milk-made yarrow does smell amazing. I hit that with the lawnmower because on the one side of the house by the shop there, it's just full, and I keep a line of it, and I'll hit some that's in the yard, and you can smell it instantly.
Yeah, the milkmaid just said it as you're saying it. She said it smells amazing.
Infusing oils too. There's another one, guys. Be careful with your infusing oils. I just seen Milkmaid was talking about that. There's some things that you can infuse with, and there's some things that you can't. Lavender is a good one. It's supposed to it has more medicinal purposes for soothing and stuff like that. But there's certain oils that it will take to, and there's others that it won't.
I dry mint. I'm drying mint right now. CB for teas, for peppermint teas and stuff.
Stars Prepper, good to see you.
What's up, Stars?
Gray. Just don't get stopped with the yarrow by cops. He might think you're a dealer.
Oh man. I guess luckily I'm good friends with most of the folks in the higher ups in the sheriff department.
Yeah, I was gonna say if they don't know the difference between that, I was like, because up here too we have ditchweed, which looks very close to the original, plant. So I've seen people they're like, wow, you got this stuff growing all over. It's like wild here in Wisconsin. I'm like, dude, that's just ditchweed. So
take care, Jess. And Milkmaid wants you to elaborate on the oils, maybe.
See you later, Jess.
Wow, we've already been on here for an hour and a half. Man, time flies.
Elaborate on oils, maybe. Oh, yeah, there's another one. You got your grapeseed oil. You have some of your better transfer oils that are going to be beeswax. To me, the salve with beeswax should probably be the best. Like I know they call it the backwood salve, where you're using plantain and yarrow together and with beeswax, and you make a salve out of it. That would be my go-to thing. Guys, it's summertime now. Plantain, I actually should do a video walk around of the different types so you can get it, but plantain is good for multiple things.
Yeah, my wife was asking me about that because she saw some, she was at the nursery and she saw a bunch of plantain plants and she's like, oh, this is interesting. I was like, yeah, Mark talks about that all the time.
Yeah, people ask me, the same thing with, you got plantain and you got purslane.
Yeah, purslane.
I think they sell that down in Florida for like $4 for a container. Well, in summertime here, Gray, we got to come down here because we could be millionaires in a week because that stuff goes bad, and it's 3 times the size of what you see in them containers that you guys get all down there. I was blown away that people are paying $4 or $5 for a little stem of plantain versus ours. Ours is just monstrous.
It's funny you say that because purslane is it's like a what do they call it? What are those plants called? A succulent? Is that what it? No, is it?
Purslane and plantain. Plantain is a big leaf that you would find like in your yard. It's got 5 strings in the leaf. And then purslane is a succulent in the garden. And yes, it's what it is it's nature's way to cover the ground to keep the moisture in. Is my understanding of it. But it is very good if you're lacking in iron, energy. I know people that tell me all the time that they ask if I'll pick them some because it gives them immediate energy. And other people, they can't eat it because they get the kalawabis from it and it's affecting them. So some women can and some women can't.
Yeah, what I learned, because I was reading the medicinal aspects of it, because like I said, they have a lot of it around here. But if you have cats, you don't want the cats to eat it because of the calcium inside of it. It has a form of calcium that doesn't work good with the cats. So if you have the purslane, you want to be careful if you have kitty cats.
Chiggers is just another tick bug, and they are just nasty.
Yeah, it's in the same family as the ticks and whatnot.
Yeah. You got you got your deer ticks, you got bear ticks, which are smaller, which you kind of different. Then you have the regular tick, you have chiggers. Just depends on where you're at.
Yeah, Milkmaid clove tincture does work for tooth and gum pain. Also, what I learned just last month is garlic works really good too. You get some garlic and mince it up and put it there, because I had a little bit of a tooth issue a while back, and I used garlic, and it was awesome.
If you guys look at what you're talking about here, what is cloves? Antifungal. What is garlic? Antifungal. Mouth decay is a fungal. Okay, so. And if you look at when you go into the dentist after you have the old surgery, so if you got like a socket in there when they pulled out a tooth, the thing that they give you for the juice to stick in there is clove oil. You can make it yourself.
Chris is asking you about yucca, if you know anything about yucca.
No, sir, I don't.
I know folks down here eat it, the yucca plant. It's very popular amongst the Latin population.
That was one of the things that got me going a while back, Gray, is the churches, their heart, sometimes their heart's in the right spot. And they're talking about people that were hungry, and they're talking about helping people in other countries, which was fine. But when you see the person that they're saying is starving and they're standing behind a huge plantain or plantain plant, your banana plant, and they're talking about no food.
Yeah, no, I agree.
The education that we, has been lost about eating the wild edibles and growing your own food is kind of crazy.
My goal in life is not to have stuff handed to me. I rather work for it, make it, grow it, look for it, because you can't always depend on people to give you stuff.
The Milkmaid.
I can see that, Milkmaid. I can see that.
No, I did. I don't remember who I was. Yeah, I do. It was Jess, Keto Homestead. She got chocolate mint.
Supposed to be sending me some.
And I guess the tea that they made was amazing. So I'm going to have to. I think I tried growing that stuff last year. I have some other stuff this year for mint, and then I had some chocolate basil last year, but didn't make it.
CB, you're on the money. There's a lot of people that don't know how to cook, don't know how to even like clean a fish, go fishing and clean a fish. It's amazing what people don't know this day and age, because people are so focused on stuff they shouldn't be focused on, and that they have their face buried in their phone, watching cat videos or things like that.
The other thing too is, guys, if you want to have a test, go out and start a fire. Take your grill, take your grate out, and start a fire, and try cooking on that fire. For us, it's easy because of prep. We go in the kitchen, we clean our stuff up, we turn the stove on, and we can, if it's too hot, you can turn the heat down. When you got an open fire, you're not turning any heat down. So, you guys really want to get used to that kind of concept, because I've been saying for many, many years that I've been on YouTube now, I said, learn how to get back to the basics, because how do you cook on an open fire? How do you bake on an open fire? That kind of stuff. Learn, I can't think of that bread now. Lady T, is she still in here? Did she leave? There's a simple bread recipe that I actually make out when I go in the woods. And I can't think of the name. It'll come to me sooner or later. It's a great way. It's simple. It's just flour, baking powder, and water. And if you got some kind of seasoning you want to throw in there, something like that, it's a very simple concept. And you can do all kinds of stuff with it. Wrap it around a stick, and you have bread. So, but
Yeah, Dragon, it's funny you say that, though. My grandmother, that's how she would cook fish. She would eat the entire fish. She wouldn't clean it. Well, she would. Yeah, no, they would gut it. They would gut the fish and then run a stick through it and eat it. She would eat the eyeballs and everything, man.
There's some things like, when I grew up, every portion of the chicken was used. Every portion of the cow was used. Every portion of the pig was used. My grandpa, when I first went trout fishing, this is how I learned about leeks, for number one. And number two is you catch the fish fresh, you go and cut the leeks, throw it in the stomach of the fish, and then you wrap it with the leaves of the leek, and you can put it right in the fire.
We've had S. Moore and Tiger 454 join us in the last few minutes.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, Tiger 454.
Harvey Blacks is eating eyeballs. Yeah, I know, man. She was an old school woman, man. She didn't leave anything. She didn't waste anything, man. She would not waste anything. She was from Cuba. So to them, they didn't waste anything. Being under a communist regime, they would not, they ate everything.
And the thing of it is, guys, is that is going, some portions of that stuff, what we would consider disgusting to eat, is high in protein.
Mm-hmm.
It has the most valuable nutrients. If you look at how animals in the wild, what they go after, and I hate to say it, the first thing that they eat is the brain, the eyes. And then they go for later on for the other stuff, because that's where, what is a bear when it's going after salmon? What's the first thing it does is eats the head off and then goes after the salmon eggs. That's where the most protein for that bear is there. So wild animals know which portions to eat. We choose because we're a little bit more pickier of what we can eat, but you'd be surprised when you're hungry what you're going to do.
Hey, yeah, Lady T, when I'm out hiking, I forget who, someone's always, I don't know if it's Bonnie Bethel or Zane. Some of those folks are always wondering if I run into snakes. And I do, but I'm prepared for the gear that I'm wearing, and the clothing that I'm wearing protects me from that.
That's more. Good to see you. My dad used all parts of everything. There's always a pot boiling on the wood stove with some body parts in it.
I mean, to be honest with you, I even reuse the guts. I don't eat the guts, but I use the guts for bait, baits and traps and stuff like that.
Yep.
Like I said, when you kill something, there's always a use for something. The hides, sure.
If you guys with animals, is the Lord has put enough of the stuff that you can, their brain has enough tannins in there to tan the hide.
Even the bones, you can use bones for making sharp objects, arrowheads, all kinds of stuff like that.
Arrowheads, there's a good thing too, guys. So look at how the Indians did things back in the day. When the gun came around, yes, when firepower came around, it made things a lot easier. But for many, many, many moons before that, they were using bows and arrows. Silent. Doesn't know you're not attracting tension. If you miss, you can take another shot. With a gun, you're just told the whole neighborhood where you're at.
Right on.
So if you are into any kind of situation where you're fending for your life, or now you have lost your main source of food, your homestead or whatever else, and now you're out in the woods doing your own thing, the gun is going to be my last resort. I'll think of 10 other different ways before I'll even think about a gun, because all that is a beacon to whoever took my stuff to begin with, or where I'm at now.
Yeah, you have to figure there's a lot of like-minded folks like ourselves, right? But there's also folks with the same knowledge that we have that are on the bad side of things, that will track you, that will hunt you, and do bad things to you.
I know there's a few militias that their main concept and their main goal was to take, plunder, steal, and everything else. And these guys have some of the same training, but same knowledge and everything else. They say, why put forth the effort? Because it takes less effort to take it than to actually grow it, use it, build it, everything else. So if I have a full town set up, or let's say a full camp set up that has a cooking stove already in, has a shelter already in, has everything in there that I need, which one's easier? Which one's going to burn up less calories for me to take it or to build my own? That's how some people's concept and thinking is, guys.
Ken Nicole said, if I may ask, anyone tested or looked into FlowJack hand pumps made in Arkansas?
I have not. I might have looked at those, and I've looked at a lot of them. I've been looking more for deep well, from 80 plus. I know some of the hand pumps, they're like the bigger ones are only for 25 feet, 35 feet. Like the ones you see at the parks and stuff, them are shallow well pumps. Back in the old days, guys, if you didn't notice, the old farmers and stuff, they always had a bucket of water underneath the well pump to prime the pump before they used it again. So they would fill their containers up, and then they'd fill another bucket up to have it sit there because it would lose their prime, and you need water to prime the pump. So that was always there too. So if you're looking in those categories, remember that they do lose their prime, and then you have to reprime them. They're not like the ones we have today. Creaky Geek, good to see you.
Muzzle, that's why you want to be as quiet and stealthy as possible, because you're right. There will be marauders traveling in the hundreds or even thousands. There'll be a large group of them. And that many numbers, you can be overwhelmed, no matter how skilled, how well protected you are and how proficient you are in your firearms training. 2 or 3 folks against 1,000 would be a slaughter.
Not only that is a concealment. Concealment is number one.
And having your weight, having binos. I think binos are an important thing to have, for seeing things out in the distance,
And guys, just my concept and other people that have been trained like I have been trained. I know a lot of people are talking about night vision, and I know a lot of people that are discussing night vision and that they're going to do this and they're going to do that. Well, understandably, yes, you're in the dark with night vision, you can see, but so can someone else, because when the 2 lasers, the IR lights hit, it causes a flash in the binoculars, our binocular, whatever that you're using. It causes a flash, so you're blindsiding the other guys because your 2 lasers are hitting each other. What does that just create? That just created a location. All right. So I can come back in on that, and I'm going to hit it again. And if you don't recognize what that big flash in your binoculars were all about, because you're new to it, you're not using them that much, you don't have the understanding, you just gave out your location.
And the night vision that you would truly need, I mean, people Gen 1s and Gen 2s, the amount of money that you pay for really good like military style NVGs, you can invest that into so much more into prepping and food and water and other stuff like that. It's just, unless you're extremely wealthy and you have access to that stuff, then great. But
And the other thing too, guys, is that hang on a second.
Dragon, you are correct. You are correct. They will use if folks that have been deployed over in Afghanistan and Iraq and stuff like that, they will use children that way. It's an unfortunate thing. Matter of fact, like again with the book that I'm reading, they used a family and they brought children to scout out this folks' campsite, with their shelter area and what they were doing, and then they were going to come back. Luckily, someone had a gut feeling and prepared for it. But yes, it's going to be very hard in a full shift event. It would be very hard to trust many folks at all. Second
All right.
thing-
So Greg was talking about Gen 1s, Gen 2s. This is the Gen 2. All right. My accuracy is 100 yards to me. That's pretty close to have somebody in that I can physically see what's out there. That's 100 yards. That's just with using the IR laser. Now, this is a Gen 3 monocular, and this has a flashlight on there that the camera's picking up. That's an IR flashlight. With the flashlight and this big thing, I'm still only going out 150. But that's a huge, you see this in the camera, that's a huge beacon to anybody that's using IR. So like he's saying, there's other means and other portions that you can use. They have come a long way, and they have come down a long way in price. I remember when they're very expensive to get your hands on. But learn how to walk with Starlight. Starlight scopes are another good one. Use the natural things.
Yeah, Lady T, you're right. Dogs work great. They can see better in the dark. And you have someone who hasn't been in chat for quite some time. Nicole O'Leary says, "Hey, Mark, long time no see. Hope all is well."
Hey, Nicole, good to see you. Everything is awesome. She's the one that made me eat one of those hot peppers that night that made me go into a frenzy. I said I was going to send her one, and I said, "Nah, I'm not going to be that mean." I don't know what happened. That was like and I grew them. That's the funny thing is I've eaten ghost peppers, and I grew those peppers, and all of a sudden there was just one in that bunch that was like, hoorah.
What's up, Northwoods Peachtree?
Good to see you, Northwoods. Tough question for the panel. An old army trick, did you see this, to prevent foot blisters? Or panniers under the socks?
So with boots, you kind of want to wear two layers. If you have a wool sock, you have an underlayer. I use Under Armour right now and some other stuff, but you can use pantyhose because it reduces friction. But what I use is you have something that wants to wick away moisture and something that kind of protects the chafing from the sock as well. And I always say carry moleskin. Moleskin is very important.
I got my military socks. I got wool socks, and your normal. And cotton doesn't allow you to, especially the socks that you have now. If you look at how they're made, they're 90% of them are probably polyester. They're not even true cotton anymore. And you guys got to remember is trench rot, foot rot. If you're walking in long distances, you got moisture in there. When you guys get to wherever you're getting, take your boots off, take your socks off, let your feet air out, dry out. If you want to get rid of all of these issues, all you got to do is take your boots out, put them by the fire, let them air out, dry out overnight. Same thing with your socks and stuff like that. If you guys look in the old Western days, the old cowboys, their boots were made from cowhide. They weren't like they have now. So what did they do? Wherever they got to, their boots came off, their socks came off, they hung them on a stick to dry them out. And so that's some of these concepts we're going to have to learn how to use too.
Yeah, I've taken it a step further with my boots. I put two sticks in the ground and hang them upside down on there just to try to prevent creepy crawlies from getting inside them as well when I'm out in the woods.
Absolutely. Hey, Creative's in here. Good to see you.
What is up? I think Fishes and Loaves popped in as well. And Tipsy Gypsy has a question for you.
Hello, Mark. I've been trying to find your email. I talked to you on Paul's channel. Wanted to find out what I use for nerve damage and pain. My email is going to be on my main, in my about page on my main channel, and you can find me there. So for pain and nerve damage, from my understanding, isn't something that is going to be physically corrected with plants and edibles. That is more of a Chinese thing where they would do acupuncture and stuff to reposition and to do that with the nerves. I've never found anything. You got to remember that a painkiller is cutting off that nerve. Like when you take aspirin, it's cutting off your receptors from feeling that pain. My concept behind that is I want to, if I'm in pain or something is wrong with me, I would like to know it. But as far as pain control, Tipsy Gypsy, the best thing I can tell you is the guy that's sitting next to me and I'm not anything about the CBD oils or nothing like that, but the CBD stuff has come a long way, and I know a lot of people that are using them to control pain. Gray is pretty knowledgeable on that kind of stuff because he sells it, so products of it, I should say.
With the CBDs and whatnot. Yeah. Someone said something in chat that I wanted to address.
But yeah, CBD is a good alternative for pain relief. But remember that we don't want to, if we're in pain, there's a reason why our body is letting us know this. By us cutting that pain off, that allows us to do something to jeopardize it more. So if you have that extreme nerve damage pain or something like that, Paula, Tipsy Gypsy, check in your CBDs, your plants, stuff like that. They make a very, very good source of getting rid of that. The other stuff that I know is making the tincture side of things. And if you do it wrong, like if you're going to use wild lettuce or something like that, you can cause yourself more harm than good. So
I think Lady T had said something. And Lady T, yes, I tell everybody, don't go buy a pair of hiking boots and then put them in the corner and use them for shift. You want to make sure that you wear these boots and break them in well. You don't want to be breaking in boots on a long hike in a bad scenario. You will regret it tremendously.
Yeah, wild lettuce is one that's out there. But if you don't know what you're doing and you're playing with that stuff, you can cause yourself a lot of issues. So that's why we always say, we're not doctors. We're not scientific. I just stuff that I use naturally and that I found out through my years of doing this is what works best for me might not always work best for you. So you have to do your research. You have to do your tests, stuff like that. So Tipsy Gypsy, I hope that answers your question, and I'm sorry if I missed your emails or something like that, but my email is in my about page. So
yeah, two things. CB, you're right. You can have an impingement somewhere, which is creating the pain. You can have a bone spur. You can have a herniated disc. Lots of things create pain, and it's better to know where that pain is coming from and how to treat it from that specific area.
You also got to remember too, is pain likes to radiate.
Mm-hmm.
So it might, if you think, my left side hurts, it's on my left side. That might not necessarily, could be in your back, your spine, or anything, and it's just radiating to that point. So milkmaid, wild lettuce, and poppy seed are for extreme pain, but the poppy seed is addictive and can be tricky. So,
I think who mentioned it? Where was it? Life with Bobby. Yeah, Delta 8. Matter of fact, I sent Mark some Delta 8. That's what I sent Mark, Delta 8 CBD.
I don't use CBD. I can't with my work, but Moon does, and that she's been using the CBD oils, the plants, the stuff that she got from Gray to manage her pain because she's got a deteriorative disc, and it seems to be working if you don't forget to use it.
Yeah, Tipsy Gypsy, I just copied and pasted your email, so I got that, and I will send you like a test email so you have mine. Yeah, muscles can create lower back pain depending on your straining yourself. There's a lot of different issues. We can go into hours and hours of conversation about pain and your pain receptors and what causes pain. And there's a lot of different things that can cause pain. Even fatigue can cause pain.
Northwoods Petrie, I love medical CBD.
Wendy, it can. So when it comes to CBD, Wendy, you have to understand everybody's body metabolizes it differently. So, try, low doses at first. Like I said, this is not medical advice. This is just my opinion. But some people do use tinctures and creams. I've used it myself. I have a mentholated CBD balm that I use on my neck sometimes when I'm having issues. just because there's a lot of science behind it now.
Susan Peters, good to see you. Comfrey Nippon also help with my pain. RT past fracture maybe in my mind, but also don't have any shooting pains in my legs. There's all kinds of stuff out there that can help you. I go get some more water, Greg.
Yeah, there's some comfrey right there. There's a lot of medicinal plants and herbs that you guys can use in regards to for certain things. And fishes, you're right, lack of sleep can cause pain. It could also create a lot of fatigue, depression. Lack of sleep causes a lot of things. Our body needs sleep, believe it or not. And if you're in a shift event, in a nasty scenario, you will not get as much sleep as you would expect. So expect to deal with a lot of things. In Northwoods, you're right. I drink a ton of water. Water, keeps the skin nice and hydrated. Also keeps your joints, what is it called? Lubed. That's a good idea, Lady T. If you're getting to the point where you're feeling pain doing something, if you're in the garden, all of a sudden something starts to hurt, go take a break, go do something. But Tylenol, ibuprofen are great for what you're using it for, but it will tear up your insides. I've known some folks who take ibuprofen on a consistent basis, and now they have stomach ulcers and things like that. So just be careful. Take everything in moderation. Pinched nerve of the neck. Research another option for diabetic nerve pain now. In CB, I have a pinched nerve here. I have a torn rotator cuff, and I still work past it. Eventually, my body gets used to certain things, but there's a lot of things that you can do, because I used to have diabetic nerve pain years and years ago when I was a diabetic.
There's the other thing I heard you talk about: ibuprofen, willow bark, aspirin, natural. But some people have tried willow bark and it didn't work for them. For me, it works great.
Right.
The problem with pain, guys, is yes, we caused an injury to someplace in our body. So what automatically happens? Inflammation and swelling. What does that cause? That causes your pain, the stiff areas. So what we really got to understand is how can we eliminate the inflammation and swelling? There's stage one. That allows that's your body's natural response to an injured area. Okay, everything rushes into it, starts to fix the problem, causes inflammation and swelling. So we need to get that down. And there's ways around that too.
Someone said, where was it at? About how to use comfrey. I mean, you can use it in oils. I mean, it's good for sprains. It's good for arthritis, pain, bruising, things like that. But don't ever use it on like broken skin or stuff like that. You don't want to put it in like a wound like that. But if you can make it into oil, you massage it in just like you would use any other massage oil and whatnot.
So, guys, we've been on for almost 2 hours, Gray.
Wow, 2 hours. Holy cow.
So, guys, don't forget tonight, as Lady T would say, Gray gets the roast meat tonight. So we'll be over there. If you are new to our channel, this is your first time here, please go down and hit the subscribe and click the bell. Me and Gray do our Tuesday morning lives. We flip-flop on channels. So this week was mine. So next week we'll be on his channel. So we'll be going back and forth between the two and talking about things. Gray, I think you got a new video coming up, and that's going to be CBD oil.
I know, right? I do need to do something on that. So tonight I will be interviewing, we'll be doing a deep dive into Mark from Rolling Homestead at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on my channel. And Tipsy Gypsy, after we end this live, I will email you my email so you have it. But I'll be able to talk to you more down the road. Also, I might have some information on my channel that may help you out as well. But I will email you. I won't be able to do any deep dive right now because I got a bunch of errands to do before the live tonight. But I will reach out to you.
So, guys, I want to thank everybody for joining us today and spending your morning with us. If you have any questions, like Grace saying, Our emails are both in our About page. We can answer the emails and see them that way. It's a great way to get in contact with us if you have anything else. And guys, don't forget, tonight will be with Mr. Gray.
So join us. We'll have a good time.
Always. So you guys got anything else? We can talk about it later on tonight again. And
yeah, you guys are phenomenal people. Great people. Glad you were here.
You too. Thanks a lot. And we will talk to you later, guys. God bless. We'll see you on the next one.